Is it true that Jungkook doesn't realize that all the eyes of the world are still watching him? What exactly did Taehyung do behind that moment that left the entire fandom speechless? These unexpected moments captured on camera are now a hot topic around the world. Click read to the end and write your opinion. Is this a coincidence or something deliberately planned? Have you ever imagined what happens behind the scenes when the camera suddenly stays on? Imagine Jungkook, the global face of BTS, the icon of a generation, the idol of millions, unaware that his every move, every breath is still being recorded. The camera should have stopped. The show was supposed to be over. But behind the slowly fading light, something happened. Something that made even the crew in the room look at each other silently. And that moment is now the biggest topic on social media around the world. That night seemed like an ordinary night for BTS fans. Jungkook just wrapped up an exclusive interview session after the launch of his international collaboration project. Everything was professional, well-organized, and full of Jungkook's trademark charm. A warm smile, a polite chuckle, and a light gesture that made everyone in the room feel appreciated. However, after the interview was declared cut, the studio lights began to dim, and part of the crew began to tidy up the tool. That night seemed like an ordinary night for BTS fans. Jungkook just wrapped up an exclusive interview session after the launch of his international collaboration project. Everything was professional, well-organized, and full of Jungkook's trademark charm. A warm smile, a polite chuckle, and a light gesture that made everyone in the room feel appreciated. However, after the interview was declared cut, the studio lights began to dim, and part of the crew began to tidy up the tools. Jungkook seemed to lower his gaze, sighing deeply, as if releasing an invisible weight during the filming process. Nobody knows that the main camera is in the corner of the room, still recording on a monitor screen. A staff member who had not yet had time to turn off the recording system noticed something strange. Jungkook didn't immediately leave as usual. He sat quietly for a few seconds, then stared at the floor. Silence. No music. No sound. Just a slow snort of breath and fidgety-looking fingers tapping on the table. Someone behind on the monitor screen. A staff member who had not yet had time to turn off the recording system noticed something strange. Jungkook didn't immediately leave as usual. He sat quietly for a few seconds, then stared at the floor. Silence. No music, no sound, just a SRT of breath and fidgety-looking fingers tapping on the table. Someone behind the screen whispered, "He looks tired, huh?" But before anyone could answer, the studio door suddenly opened. In came an unexpected figure that night. Kim Taehyung, better known to the world as V. There is no official schedule that says Taehyung is supposed to be there. According to an internal rundown, he is still in another location, attending a global fashion brand photo shoot that took place almost simultaneously. But for some reason, it just appeared, dressed in casual clothes, without camera makeup, with a hard-to-read expression. The camera is still on, although no one is aware, including Taehyung himself. He stepped slowly, looked at Jungkook, who was still sitting hunched over, and without a sound, closed the door from the inside. That a few seconds passed without a word. Jungkook looked surprised when he saw her, but didn't immediately speak. "Hyung," he said quietly, his voice hoarse like someone who had just held a lot of things inside him. Taehyung just stared, without answering, then walked over. The cameras that silently record the moment capture every little detail, from the look in their eyes to the almost illegible motion of their lips. And it was at this point that the whole debate in fandom began. When a snippet of the video finally leaked, out of nowhere, the public was completely at a loss for words. Many thought this was an edit. But after a few days, a number of video analysts confirmed the footage is genuine. No visual manipulation. No sound cuts. What is captured is a real moment between two BTS members in their most human condition, honest, fragile, and without the filters of entertainment cameras. The question is, what exactly happened that night? When viewed from context, Jungkook appears to be in an emotional state. He spoke softly, his voice barely audible, but the words were successfully interpreted by a professional lip reader. He said something like, "I don't know what else to do, Hyung." Taehyung then approached, touched Jungkook's shoulder, and said something that made Jungkook's face instantly change, between shocked and almost crying. "You think I don't know everything?" So roughly the alleged translation came from Taehyung's lips. It was this part that later became the subject of endless speculation among fans. What does everything mean? Is Taehyung talking about personal matters? Internal conflict of the group? Or something bigger? Something that has been hidden from the public all this time? No one knows for sure, because after that sentence, the video suddenly stopped. Only the sound of fast steps approaching the camera is heard. Then the screen is dark. But for those who had time to watch the long version of the leaked video on a limited forum before it was removed, there's a much more shocking follow-up scene. The final seconds show Taehyung staring at the camera. Yes, directly into the lens, as if aware that everything is being recorded. He wasn't angry, he wasn't surprised, just smiled faintly and said something that sounded like, "You saw that too, right?" After that, the screen went completely black. That sentence alone was enough to shake the entire global fandom. You saw it too, didn't you? Who is Taehyung talking to? To Jungkook? To the crew in the room? Or to the audience? All of us who might one day watch that video without permission. Those questions have now turned into an endless storm of discussion. The hashtags #Taekook camera and #Jungkook didn't know immediately topped trending on Twitter, Weverse to Reddit. Some fans believe this is a heartfelt, and those questions have now turned into an endless storm of discussion. The hashtags #Taekook camera and #Jungkook didn't know immediately topped trending on Twitter, Weverse to Reddit. Some fans believe this is a heartfelt moment of two best friends understanding each other amid the cruel pressures of the industry. But there are those who consider the video to be part of a larger project, some kind of hidden message, or even a code deliberately left for loyal fans. Whatever the truth, one thing is certain. That night changed everything. Both for them, and for the way the world views BTS as a global cultural phenomenon, that if you followed their journey since the beginning, you know how complicated the dynamics of relationships between members could be behind the camera. They grew up together since adolescence, went through difficult times, losses, even unreasonable criticism from the outside world. Jungkook, known as Magne the youngest talented and perfectionist, often harbored many things. Whereas Taehyung, with his mysterious personality, if you follow their journey since the beginning, you know how complicated the dynamics of relationships between members could be behind the camera. They grew up together since adolescence, went through difficult times, losses, even unreasonable criticism from the outside world. Jungkook, known as Magne the youngest talented and perfectionist, often harbored many things. Whereas Taehyung, with his mysterious personality, is the type who rarely explains what he feels directly. They are like two polar opposites, but bound together by something that cannot be explained in words. And so, when these two figures were caught on camera in such a situation, the world instantly stopped for a moment. Fans are wondering, is this the moment where all the pretense of the industry finally collapses? Is this proof that behind the glitter of the stage, they're just tired human beings looking for a place to just breathe? The moment was not just an ordinary recording. It was a cut of honesty that rarely comes across in the world of K-pop, a world known for being closed, restrained, and full of protocol. This still on camera seems to be a silent witness that behind the perfect choreography and smile prepared for the camera, there's a real human side, which can be broken, can be confused, can be angry, can be afraid. And this is precisely where the strength of this story lies, an accidental moment that opens the veil of reality. Since then, the public has been speculating. Some say Taehyung came that night after hearing the news that Jungkook almost canceled the interview session due to emotional stress. Some believe that Taehyung's arrival was no accident. that he knew everything from the beginning. An insider who did not want to be named said, "Taehyung has a strong instinct for Jungkook. When something happens, he always shows up without being called. But if so, how do you know Jungkook was still in the studio at past midnight?" Some theories suggest that they communicated through private messages that did not go through HYB's internal systems, using an encrypted application commonly used by major artists to avoid leaks. But again, there is no concrete evidence. Interestingly, a few days after the video went viral, Taehyung uploaded something on his personal social media account. Not a clarification, not an official statement, just one photo. The night sky with one bright star in the center. His caption was just one short sentence. "Not all cameras need to be turned off to see the truth." The words were like starting a new fire in the middle of the embers that had not yet been extinguished. Is it a form of satire against video leaks? Or a symbolic statement that there are things that are supposed to be visible? Fans and pop culture analysts argue it out. Some consider it a personal emotional message, but others see it as a subtle form of criticism of the entertainment industry that controls the narrative of its artists too much. However, the biggest mystery remains one. What actually happened in the room after the camera went dark? Because that's the part that was never released, even in the longest leaked version. And some sources in HYB's internal circles said that the final part of the video, about the last 20 seconds, is stored in a server that is very limited access. Why? What are they hiding? And this is where the story gets even more tense, because after that incident, Jungkook and Taehyung's behavior begins to change slowly, in a way that only those who really pay attention to every detail of their interactions in public can see. Since that night, something has changed, subtle, barely noticeable, but noticeable. Those who followed Jungkook and Taehyung's every move began to notice small differences in the way the two appeared in public. In the past, they always seemed relaxed, often exchanging brief glances during interviews or chiming in with light jokes on stage. But after the incident in the studio recorded by the camera, the dynamics of both seemed to shift. Not away, but just like there was something unfinished between them that a few days after the video surfaced, Jungkook appeared on his personal livestream. Its appearance looks a little different. His eyes looked tired, although he tried to smile as usual. He spoke slowly, his voice faltering, as if he were being careful with every word that came out. Sometimes, he says, there are things that are better left unsaid. Not because of secrets, but because words can make it lose meaning. At first glance, the phrase sounds familiar. But to those who knew the context, it sounded like an implicit message, as if Jungkook wanted to say something he couldn't express directly. What is he really hiding? That question haunted fans, especially when, shortly after the broadcast, Taehyung actually uploaded a snippet of an old song he wrote himself years ago. The lyrics echoed in the heads of many. "I see you where it should be dark, but the light still comes from you." A simple sentence, but in a hot context, feels full of hidden meaning. Is it a form of subtle support for Jungkook? Or a symbolic recognition of something they experienced together that night? HYB, on the other hand, tried to calm the situation by temporarily limiting their public activities. "Focus on individual projects," says one of their official statements. But the public is reading the opposite. The restrictions are reinforcing speculation that something bigger is going on behind the scenes. Day by day, the rumors grew wild. In international forums, some claim to have seen another piece of video that was never released, footage from security cameras outside the studio. The piece reportedly shows Taehyung leaving the room with a very different face than usual. His gaze blank, his pace quick, as if he had just witnessed something that shouldn't have happened. Is that true? No one can be sure. But for sure, a few hours after that, Jungkook was not seen at all. He didn't show up at the dorm, wasn't detected at the airport. Not even the personal staff knew where he was for 2 whole days. 2 dark days, where the world wonders where Jungkook went. Speculation has been popping up nonstop. Some accused HYB of deliberately covering up the truth. There are also those who spread the theory that Jungkook deliberately disappeared to calm down after a personal conflict with one of the members, allegedly Taehyung. But does it make sense? Doesn't the leaked video actually show that the two seem to understand each other? Or maybe that's exactly where the problem lies. An understanding too deep, too honest, to offend the boundaries that should not be touched in the world of K-pop. Some journalists began to investigate. One of them, a senior entertainment reporter known for daring to expose major scandals, wrote a long analysis article titled, "The Night the Camera Didn't Turn Off. The Truth BTS Doesn't Want You to See." In the writing, he claims to have spoken to one of the studio technicians who was present the night of the incident. The anonymous source said, "I will never forget their expressions.